5 to 6 a.m. for your chance to win Predators ticket.
November 9th, 2000.
More than 100 million Americans voted on Tuesday, and more voted for Al Gore than Governor Bush.
It's the day after the day after, and plenty more to come before it's over.
I believe that their actions to try to presumptively crown themselves the victors run the risk of dividing the American people.
The war is spreading to the streets and may have to be settled in the courts.
I hope that the Vice President would think very seriously before he would attempt to subvert the will of the people of Florida.
They're trying to question the process in Palm Beach County that is supervised by Democrats, organized by Democrats, and run by Democrats.
The View from inside Bush headquarters in Austin. A conversation with George W. Bush's 3 top domestic advisors.
It's kind of just selectively say, we don't think this is the right ballot to use. It is just,
Because we don't like the outcome of the election is basically what they're saying.
Tonight, the nation waits. The gloves come off.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Austin, Texas, Ted Koppel.
Good afternoon, Bush Cheney 2000.
Bush Cheney 2000, how can I help you?
Bush Cheney 2000, how may I direct your call?
The phone calls are flooding into Bush headquarters here in Austin, most of them outraged at what the callers feel is the injustice of what is happening.
Just keep the faith, and I think we're going to turn out fine, and we're just putting our faith in the Constitution. We're going from there.
Good afternoon, Bush Cheney 2000, how may I direct your call?
Peggy Wood is working from a printed guidance sheet provided by the Bush campaign. But she brings her own particular warmth and skill to the task. Part political operative, part grief counselor.
And hopefully this will be resolved by this evening, or at least they'll come to their senses. So we're working on it, and hang in there, we are.
It has turned into something far different than anyone could have expected 2 short nights ago. What was supposed to have been settled at the polls now seems to be headed for the courts. A senior official from the Gore campaign told me this evening that he expects the vice president to authorize the filing of a formal suit in behalf of his campaign, possibly as early as tomorrow. If not, then early next week. Condoleezza Rice, the woman who would become the president's national security advisor in a Bush administration, told me this evening that there had been an offer from the Duma, the Russian parliament, to send over a team of mediators. They were joking, she was smiling, but it's becoming more serious by the moment. There were a few minutes during the early morning hours of Wednesday when George W. Bush could have taken Al Gore's telephone concession and announced to his own supporters that it was over, that he was the president-elect. But he waited for Gore to concede the race publicly. That never happened. There was a second phone call, and now it is too close in Florida for either man to accept the role of good loser. We begin with this report from Nightline correspondent Chris Bury.
So right now we have Bush leading Gore by 793 votes.
This reeks of rotten eggs. The whole system is on trial.
As the presidency rested uneasily in Florida's grip for a second straight day, a steadily growing tension accompanied the counting.
You voted, you lost. Give it up.
From heated arguments about who's to blame for ballot problems in Palm Beach County to a student sit-in, Democratic protests, and an edgy Wall Street, much of the nation braced for new Florida numbers that still might not settle the closest presidential election in American history. Tonight, certified results from 53 of Florida's 67 counties showed Governor Bush hanging on to a lead of fewer than 2,000 votes.
As of 5 p.m. today, the unofficial certified results of the recount are as follows. Governor George W. Bush, 2,909,661. Vice President Al Gore, 2,907,877. a difference of 1,784 votes.
But those numbers still lag behind uncertified results from all but 2 counties, showing the Texas governor ahead by fewer than 300 votes. Even before tonight's announcement, the Gore campaign signaled strongly it was gearing up for a ferocious fight.
We've come to believe that there are serious and substantial irregularities resulting from the ballot used only in one county. That ballot was confusing and illegal, and arising out of this is the need for redress in order to make sure that the will of the people can be properly honored in this situation.
In response to this clear injustice, what does the Bush campaign say? They blithely dismiss the disenfranchisement of thousands of Floridians as being the usual sort of mistake made at elections. I believe that their actions to try to presumptively crown themselves the victors, to try to put in place a transition, run the risk of dividing the American people and creating a sense of confusion.
In Austin, an irritated Bush campaign took that as a clear shot over the bow.
We are confident that an accurate recount will verify the results of Tuesday night, and that Florida's Electoral College votes will be awarded to Governor Bush and Secretary Cheney, giving them more than the 270 Electoral College votes required for the presidency. Vice President Gore's campaign did not like the outcome of Election Day, and it seems they're worried that they won't like the official recount results either.
Vice President Gore himself refused to comment on reports from his own campaign that he is poised for a legal marathon to challenge Florida's results in court. But today, a former Chief Justice of the Florida Supreme Court, one appointed by a Democratic governor, told Nightline the vice president may indeed have a case compelling enough to force a new election in Palm Beach County.
If the court finds that people have been essentially disenfranchised because they have not been allowed to properly count their ballot or their vote, then the court can say we've got to find a remedy for them. And the obvious remedy to be found in this case is one in which they can go back and make their ballots count again.
The ballot we saw had holes in them that did not line up. It was not 20,000 people's error or mistake. It was a mistake of the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections.
Late today, Nightline gathered 4 West Palm Beach County voters. They say the ballot was so confusing they voted for Pat Buchanan by mistake or had their ballots disqualified.
I had already gotten a sample ballot. I knew Gore was the second one, so I punched the second hole, started to read the rest of the ballot, noticed there were names on the right side. When I realized they were still presidential candidates, I turned the page. I was on the next page when I thought, where were the holes for those other candidates? So I turned it back and I looked, and then I discovered that I had voted for Buchanan.
Howard Phillips was the head clerk at a county polling place.
We had 50 people coming back into the precinct asking us if they could vote again because they realized they made an error.
In Palm Beach County, more than 19,000 ballots were tossed out because voters had punched in more than one candidate. What's more, in the actual balloting, Pat Buchanan drew more than 3,400 votes, far more in traditionally liberal and Democratic Palm Beach County than in the most conservative parts of the state. Today, top Bush campaign officials argued Buchanan's strength in Palm Beach County was entirely plausible.
There are a disproportionate share of Reform Party members in Palm Beach County. For example, while there are 16,695 Palm Beach County residents who have registered in the Reform Party, in the nearby county of Broward, there are only 476 individuals registered to this party.
But those numbers appear to be misleading. In Palm Beach County, more than 16,000 voters registered in the Independent Party, one that claims no connection to Pat Buchanan. But only about 350 registered in 2 different reform parties, and even Buchanan himself acknowledged there must have been a mistake, especially for those 19,000 ballots discounted for double voting.
Yes, I did get 3,400 votes, but I also agree that many of those very probably and almost certainly were intended for Al Gore. The ballot is confusing to those who move to it very rapidly. There's Bush and Gore, the first and second names on the left, but if you vote for the second dot, you vote for me, and my name's on the right. I can understand how people have made that mistake.
Tonight, the election results are so incredibly close, the tensions so high, and the future president so uncertain that a pitched and protracted political battle is considered almost inevitable.
I think we have a real crisis of legitimacy for the next president. On the Democratic side, you have people who say, not only did Al Gore carry the popular vote, but probably 19,000 votes were thrown out in Florida, most of them Democratic, and on a fair count, Gore might well have carried Florida. On the Republican side, you have people who, looking at the network projections on election night, said George Bush is our president, and the Democrats are trying to take it away. If one of these guys is elected through a process that half the country sees as illegitimate, his presidency will be a nightmare.
Tonight, Americans are no closer to knowing who that president will be. In fact, just the opposite. Late this evening, a Florida judge issued a temporary injunction stopping Palm Beach County from certifying its election results for president until after a hearing next Tuesday. And if today's heated rhetoric from the increasingly antagonistic Gore and Bush campaigns is any indication, this bitter dispute will only deepen. This is Chris Bury for Nightline in Washington.
When we come back, an exclusive conversation with Governor Bush's top political strategists.
This is ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by FedEx.
Now this is the fear snake, the most venomous snake in the world. One bite from him and it's all over. Yo! Ah! No worries, mate. Luckily, we've had the anti-venom sent from America via FedEx. In my line of work, if you're not absolutely sure, you're absolutely dead. Oh, crikey. It appears we've used a different courier who hasn't arrived yet. It's okay because...
Papa, the ref is blind. Penalty. That was no penalty.
MCI lets you call Western Europe for just 9 cents a minute all weekend long, so you can get great low rates at home and abroad. Call 1-800-476-SAVE to sign up now and get 1 hour of free calling to anywhere in the world.
It's a game you don't want to win. Which of these men is most likely to become impotent? Do you know the risk factors? How not to win the impotence game. 2020 Friday.
I remember my dad caught me. We're out in the garage, trying to be quiet, but eventually you start yelling because of the static. He comes out.
If you're going to use cellular, that's fine, but I'm not paying for it. You can get a summer job.
So I got free and clear after that, man. It's great. It's clear. Got a good deal, too. So, you ever get caught? No. Of course.
The new Sprint PCS Free and Clear plan. $29.99 for 500 minutes. All with nationwide long distance.
Come on, Dad. You promised to ski with us. You're bumming us out, Dad.
Looks like you could use Halls. Only Halls has vapor action. Breathe, my friend. Breathe. Breathe, my pasty friend.
Feeling better, Dad?
Well, I was.
Try new strawberry Halls and get going.
Earlier this evening at Bush campaign headquarters here in Austin, I sat down with the governor's communications director, Karen Hughes, with campaign chairman, Don Evans, and chief political strategist, Karl Rove.
We're in your office, Mr. Evans. This is your trinket in the center of the table. You remember what it says? You want to read it for me and tell me whose quote it is?
Sometimes you just have to play hardball.
Sometimes you just have to play hardball. A quote from?
George W. Bush.
Is this one of those times?
This is a time for the country to take the process that we're going through very seriously and very thoughtfully, and understand that the campaigning ended on November the 7th, that the election although we are still in the process of selecting the next president of the United States, campaigning is over with. And so, you know, I think it's a time for just well-reasoned, serious people to take us through this process of deciding who the next president of the United States is going to be.
The well-reasoned, serious people may be the 9 justices of the U.S. Supreme Court, Mr. Rove. I mean, the way things are going right now, I just spoke to a senior member of the Gore team before we began this interview. He tells me it's more likely than not that the campaign will, in fact, file suit. And if they do, it's got to end up in the Supreme Court.
Well, maybe that's what they're saying now, but I have a feeling Al Gore, if presented with the results in Florida, is going to take a deep breath and decide what to do on the basis of what's right for America and not what's right necessarily or not what's comfortable for his campaign advisors. And I have every confidence that he'll put the interests of the country ahead of any personal or partisan gain.
Unfortunately, if they're going to bring suit, my understanding is they will do it either tomorrow or early next week, which means it would be before all the ballots are counted. In other words, before the out-of-state, out-of-country ballots.
Yeah, they must not have much confidence in being able to win the outcome of those ballots. They must not have much of a feeling that they'll be able to win Florida.
It's important to remember we've had an election, we've had a count, and now we're about to have had a recount. And I hope that the Vice President would think very seriously before he would attempt to subvert the will of the people of Florida as expressed in their election.
You didn't like Chairman Daley's comments at his press conference today. I'm referring now to what you said at your own press conference this afternoon. What was it that you thought was a little snippy about his comments?
Well, I thought that Chairman Daley selectively used information to paint a picture that's not accurate. Now, that's something that people do in the course of a campaign sometime. I don't think at a serious time like this, when we're talking about an election to determine the President of the United States, it's time for those type of statements. The specific thing that he was discussing was a case, he was trying to paint a picture that made it appear that ballots that were double counted, that there was a mistake made, when in fact, in that county, ballots were, the same situation happened in 1996. This time there were, I think, 18,000 cases where people voted twice in that election. In 1996, there were almost 15,000 cases where people voted twice on that ballot. So this is something that has occurred in the past in that county. And I think it's important that people get the full picture, not just part of the story, particularly in something this serious.
Let me, if I may, just raise a question about that, and whoever wants to answer it, please do. The difference, of course, is that in 1996, what happened in that county in Florida was not going to determine the outcome of the election.
Well, if it was wrong today, then it was wrong then. And what also got me was that Mr. Daley blamed it on the so-called butterfly ballot. Right. And said this was what was responsible for it. Well, this is the sample ballot from the Chicago, the Cook County ballot that was used this fall, and it is a butterfly ballot with 3 options that you could vote for any candidate, only 2 of which would be right.
This is in the judicial election.
That's right. Now, also in addition to that is the same butterfly ballot, similar, very much similar to the format being used in Florida, is also used in the other races in Cook County, including the race for the congressional district seat now held by Jesse Jackson, Jr. I saw Reverend Jackson on television today decrying the use of the butterfly ballot in Florida. I've never heard him decry the use of it in Chicago elections or Cook County elections in which his son was on the ballot and in which his son won. Yeah. So there's a selective use of this that is highly disturbing.
Well, there's also the point in terms of how this particular style ballot was selected. I mean, they went through a legal process to determine how this
upside down.
Okay, how this ballot was selected.
And in fact, it was a Democrat who led that process and who certified the ballot.
Karen's right. The election, the ballot was designed by a Democrat. The election is overseen by Democrats. Right. The elections are run by a locally elected Democrat.
The ballot was published. I think it's important that your viewers know this ballot was published in advance in the newspapers.
In the legal newspaper.
Sample ballots were mailed to voters. Right. Both parties were given an opportunity to protest this ballot before the election. Neither did. And I believe this same ballot was used in 1996.
Used in 1996 as well.
There is only one thing about that ballot, if I could borrow it for one moment. And again, this is what the the official from the Gore campaign pointed out to me, if you look at this ballot, there is no way that George W. Bush cannot get the votes that his supporters want to give him. His name is first, and the hole that you have to punch is first. In the case of Al Gore, however, his name is second, but the hole is third. So there can be confusion. There can be confusion.
There could also be confusion, though, because there's also a second hole here, which right underneath the first, that people could look at and maybe assume, well, maybe I need to punch both of these in order to make certain that my vote is counted for Bush. Right. And those would have been part of the 19,000 over ballots, the ballots in which there's a vote for two people in the same office that were tossed out, and that's entirely possible. If you'll notice, that hole there starts right above the line.
So again, you know, look, that's the fine print of the contract. I mean, the facts is this is the ballot that the good people of Florida in that county selected. Right. That's the one they decided to use. Right.
And they've used it before.
And they've used it before. It's been used all across this land. And so now to kind of just selectively say that in this election, in this particular county, at this particular time, we don't think this is the right ballot to use, is just, you know...
Because we don't like the outcome of the election, is basically what they're saying. We don't like it, so let's try to find some things we can question. I heard a Democrat strategist on television today, and she said, in this country, you have a right to a trial before a jury. You don't have a right to a perfect trial. You have a right to a fair trial. And I think the same can be said of the election process. Elections are not always perfect, but they are fair.
You clearly made a decision today. I assume collectively, or maybe one of you made the decision. There had been some talk that maybe this evening there would be a celebration. And clearly you folks made a decision that it would seem inappropriate to do that tonight. Why?
Well, we don't have an official count yet. I mean, we won't have an official certified count until November the 17th. We don't know the outcome yet, absolutely. So it's certainly not appropriate to have a celebration until you know the official outcome.
When we come back, we'll talk about that second Gore phone call to George W. Bush.
Okay, got growth and income fund for retirement. Long term. What do you think for the long term? Yeah, okay. We'll just sit tight on that. And for college, wow, that's only 3 years away now. This might be a little aggressive for 3 years. Unless they're really good years. What do you think?
Want a second opinion? Introducing the personal financial consultant from Quick & Riley, a Fleet Boston financial company.
Is there really such a thing as too big? Not at the Sears Big Veterans Day sale. All fine jewelry is 45 to 55% off. Friday and Saturday only. You know what they say, if the earring fits, wear it. The big weekend sale.
Time to buy Montero Sport. 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments for an entire year on our best-selling Mitsubishis. Hurry, this deal ends soon.
Tiger Ho Zach Calvin for a little while longer, and then Mark Jason comes in.
Excuse me, miss.
I just love your sticky buns.
Got feedback? Stick it in the right place. At Planet Feedback, we help you write a letter, add it to others, and be heard. PlanetFeedback.com. The voice of one, the power of many.
In the dream, you are moving toward a horizon. And when you arrive there, you find wondrous things.
Fill your world with elegance and grace with the simple finance plan. Only at Ethan Allen.
That new boss is from another planet.
Totally spaced out at that meeting.
Hey, what's that on your desk?
ABCnews.com. Ready when you are.
Craving that one-of-a-kind taste of Long John Silver's? Now you can satisfy your cravings with our new Seafood and More meal. Our famous golden fried fish, crispy battered shrimp, and one of our great new crab cakes. Tender, tasty crab, done that special Long John Silver's way. Served with a delicious new sauce with hush puppies, fries, and slaw. Our new Seafood and More meal, now just $3.99. Come in now, because deals like this don't last long. Long John Silver's, you can't resist the cravings.
You've all been extremely generous with your time at a time when you don't have any. So one last question, Karen, to you. And it has to do with something you've responded to before, but maybe you put a little more flesh on the bone.
Okay.
That second phone call from Al Gore to George W. Bush may go down in history as one of the most famous or infamous phone calls of all time.
And it felt like that at the time it happened, too.
Tell me about it.
Well, it was incredible. Obviously, the vice president had called to concede the election and to congratulate Governor Bush. Governor Bush had been very gracious and commended the vice president, said, "You're a good man, and I've got respect for you, and give my best to your family." We were told, Chairman Evans was told by Chairman Daley that the vice president was preparing a concession statement and that he would intended to go ahead with his concession statement, and we thought that we should wait and allow him to go forward. And so we were at the governor's mansion waiting for the vice president to make a concession statement. And the time kept getting longer and longer and longer, and at some point I guess you got a call that he might not be making a concession statement. That's right. And the phone rang upstairs, and it was the vice president calling Governor Bush. And I heard the governor say, with, again, I think it was more of an incredulous tone, let me understand. I don't remember the exact words, sure, but the essential message was, let me understand this, Mr. Vice President. You're calling to retract your concession. And I guess the vice president then responded that, yes, in fact, that's what he was calling to do. And I heard the governor say, well, I guess you have to do what you have to do. But it was an amazing moment. It's never happened before in American history. And
after he hung up the phone, turned to you or whoever was there and said what?
Basically said that you were there. Right. Basically said he withdrew he retracted, he recanted his concession.
There must have been a little bit more than just that, Mr. Chairman.
No, that's what he was. Very straightforward. Very straightforward. Very matter of fact.
And just kind of shrugged and said, it goes on, or?
Actually, the governor was amazingly steady throughout the entire night.
What about the three of you?
I described it was like Chinese water torture on a roller coaster. But he was very calm and very steady throughout the evening. President Bush was there, and Mrs. Bush, and
Secretary Cheney.
Secretary Cheney came over when we thought that he had won.
Is this an exercise of American democracy as it ought to be working, or in your view an exercise in a misuse of a democratic system?
We'll see. I think the process is not far enough along to allow people to make final judgments about it. You understand, Americans gain a lot of insight into who people are and what they are and what the nature of their character is by how they react in tough times. And Governor Bush, solemn and calm and deliberate and serene almost about the process, and tough. I mean, and there's a character there that shines through just as it has in every other point of adversity in his life. And American people learn a lot about him from how he handles himself in this situation, and people learn about others as well.
Mr. Rose, Mr. Evans, Ms. Hughes, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you very much.
When we come back, a word about a special Nightline town meeting tomorrow night.
To receive a daily email announcement about each evening's Nightline and a preview of special broadcasts, log on to our webpage at nightline.abcnews.com.
Sleeping bag for his first sleepover, $40. Backpack, $18.
Sorry about that. Hey, buddy, you couldn't sleep, huh?
Walkie-talkies, $25. Going home, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Win a house in our Home for the Holiday sweepstakes. Go to MasterCard.com.
Hard to believe Daddy's gonna be 70.
He looks good. Must be all that clean living.
Yeah, right. 70. Think about all he's seen.
Is there a Walt Disney World?
Come have the time of your life and celebrate in a magical place that celebrates family.
Well, young blood, now I've seen everything.
But I haven't. Come on.
Call 1-407-WDisney and make your dream come true.
You got to fabricate a new motive.
Richard Bay will cheat. He absolutely will.
You snap. You hit her from behind.
I never
hit my wife. Objection.
He's going down again, this time with nothing to appeal.
Permission to treat the witness as hostile.
He was more desperate just then. Did you see it? That's all. You have to leave.
An all-new Practice. ABC Sunday, 10/9 Central.
This isn't over.
Hi, I'm Danny Wright with Capital Chevrolet, 600 Murfreesboro Road. We've been here all day with our loan and lease termination event, saving thousands of Middle Tennesseans some great dollars. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can do it. If you think you can't get out of the current car you're in, sick of the car you're in right now, come on by. Any make, any model like this, a brand new Cavalier, drive away for $11,399, or your choice, a brand new S10 for $159 a month. Give us a call. The sale goes through this Monday here at Capital Chevrolet.
Want to see better? Start with an eye exam at Horner Roush. Select a frame. Decide on a contact. Both are ready like 60. Get 2 for the money, the same money that is, at Horner Roush. If it's time to see 2020, you're on your way. And with a year's guarantee, there's more to see. Get yourself over to Horner Roush today. Do not stop at go. See Horner Roush Optical for eyeglasses in about an hour.
What does the Constitution have to say about this current political crisis? What about the election laws? Tomorrow night, in a special Nightline town meeting from Georgetown University, I'll be joined by some of the nation's leading scholars and experts in both fields as we take questions from an audience of people in the Washington area. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Austin, Texas. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Oklahoma faces Texas A&M, or Purdue battles Michigan State. Saturday on ABC.
Watch News 2 from 5 to 6 a.m. for your chance to win Predators ticket.
Bonnie's daughter used to reach for the stars.
Her dream at one time was to become president of the United States.
But this teen could end up in the gutter.
I love my body. I love this show.
You said you couldn't be Bill Clinton. You might wind up being Monica Lewinsky.
Next, Jenny Jones teens in training to be strippers.
It's my body. I'll do what I want with it.
Their moms may be helpless.
She's a little hoochie.
But Raymond Moses sure ain't.
Your daughter needs to put that on. We're going to go up to take care of some business.
Next, Jenny Jones.
Well, the teenagers you're going to meet this next hour are drinking, blowing off school, stripping at parties for guys to make quick cash. So, to help convince